I feel like you're getting more Arab throughout the podcast.
Next thing you know, he's going to be cutting a shawarma.
It's so bright. It's so bright.
So much.
You will be our first non-Arab.
Oh, okay, nice.
show.
What's the matter? Norman Finkelstein wasn't available?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We had to settle, man.
Nah, I get it.
We tried Norman
No,
Finkelstein.
don't
Norman
settle. That's the problem, actually.
Well, we actually...
Facts. No settlements. Yeah.
I mean, he also went on Piers Morgan and condemned the resistance. So you know what I mean? You'll never see me do that. One of your faves went on Piers Morgan and said, that he fucking hates the resistance. And so we were blindfolded. They had our hands tied behind our backs. We were in a dark room. They were playing loud music. Essentially, they were like sensory deprivation torturing us. Mm-hmm. Most of the American guys in this pledge class were like super uncomfortable because we'd never been tortured before. Mm-hmm. But I could hear...
Naturally.
I could hear two Zionists, like the Israeli guys, they were like laughing, like cackling. Like hyenas, you know what I mean? And
they're also tied up?
They were also tied up side by side to us.
Weird.
And so we were like, hey, what's up with you guys? You guys are giving off psycho vibes, right? You know what I mean?
Like, we love this.
Yeah. And literally, they
BDSM
said,
stuff.
bro, they said to me, we used to do this to Palestinians all the time.
No way.
And so that is like the first time.
At that moment, they fucked up.
Yeah, dog. They created me, actually. It was the problem. If they had just shut the fuck up. Like
the origin story.
Yeah, for real. That is my origin story.
Wow. They reap what they've all conspired in, and I hope they meet their own designed and closely tweaked and bleak self-prescribed end, and the world will speak and seek truth from blindness, and we'll all be free from Zionist confinements, man.
Bars.
You know what I'm saying?
You know I can rap as well.
Can you?
Yeah.
Bro, spit song.
Are we still rolling?
Yeah.
All right. I got the skill, will, and ability to fill up a soliloquy.
Ooh.
Parallel to Paramount, but you'd probably rather get rid of me because these are loose times, but these rhymes speak with legitimacy. If we live in a free, non-fascist society, then why are we surrounded by surveillance and bombarded for ID? It's not so my friends could keep a tab on where to find me. My kin and everyone I've been with is standing right behind me.
Ooh.
Keep our mind focused on basketballs or on rings when we should be looking for them crooked ones we call kings.
Bro, what the heck
Let's
just happened?
go.
Bro, Michael Sargent just
Bro, he can do everything.
I heard in my
Comedy,
goddamn
rap, political commentating.
What is going on, bro?
Thanks so much. Does anybody recognize me from the Palestine pod? Okay, yeah, we have a marketing problem. Zionism is a house of cards, and just like Kevin Spacey, they have a weird relationship to children.
We're about 100 days into the genocide of the Palestinian people by the Israelis, and people are still confusing Judaism and Zionism. Judaism says do not kill and do not steal. Zionism says kill everyone and steal everything.
تفضل معنا.
Let's get it, guys.
هذا والله بمايكل شيرتي.
Hey.
أهلا وسهلا.
مرحبا.
أهلين مرحبا مان.
مرحبا كيفك؟
كيفك انتي؟
الحمد لله.
How are you? No, how are you?
This guy.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I'm doing well. Thank y'all for asking. Thank y'all for having me. Appreciate
Absolutely, bro.
This guy knows
We
more
love-
Arabic than me.
I know. I'm impressed. I'm impressed, bro. Honestly, and appreciative.
Thank you, man. Thank you
This
so
is
much.
crazy.
Love the platform you guys are building as well.
Man,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And speaking of, welcome to the 10th episode of the Habibi House podcast.
Ah, that was
episode
insane.
10? Wow, that's like a whole season right there.
Yeah.
That's right.
And we have a very special
Crazy.
guest today, Michael Scherzer.
One of the specialists.
Thank you so
One
much.
of the most specialists.
So much.
You will be our first non-Arab.
Oh, okay, nice.
show.
What's the matter? Norman Finkelstein wasn't available?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We had to settle, man.
Nah, I get it.
We tried Norman
No,
Finkelstein.
don't
Norman
settle. That's the problem, actually.
Well, we actually...
Facts. No settlements.
Yeah.
No settlements.
Yeah.
No, man. No, listen. This is so
First
awesome. man.
non-Arab. First non-Arab, first Jewish.
First Jewish.
First
Wow.
Jewish
Thank you
person.
so much.
And
So
first
hard.
anti-Zionist.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that would have to
Jewish
be
person.
the same
Well,
person. Otherwise,
Right. Yeah.
otherwise it'd be tough. You know.
No, we've had anti-Zionists, just not
Not
Yeah.
a Jewish
Well,
one.
proud both.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Shout out to
that's-
our Jewish brothers and sisters all over the world.
Yeah.
And
Fighting occupation.
Yes.
Oh,
So,
God.
I mean,
Oh, God.
we want to just get into it about your story.
Well,
Where'd you
I
grow
love
up?
that he said he's proud of both too, because like that's important, right? People think
Yeah.
if you're Jewish and not Zionist, you're not proud of your Jewish.
Right.
the
One
people
of
trying to
the
gaslight
one of
you.
the tactics, the Zionist tactics, is to like isolate Jews who speak up for Palestinians because it threatens their narrative.
Yeah.
Right. Our existence threatens their narrative.
We
And
share that in common.
Yeah, 100%. That's why we struggle together,
Yes.
right? And so it's like people confuse the two often because the occupation's government is claiming to be a representative of all Jewish people,
Right.
but many Jews reject them.
Yes.
And here's like an easy way to remember. It's like Judaism tells you do not kill and do not steal, and Zionism tells you kill everyone and steal anything.
Right.
So pretty easy to remember.
Especially if they're Palestinian.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So this word Zionism has come up a lot. I don't know, for people that don't know, what is it? Because I mean, you ask some Jewish people, they'll say Zionism is just, well, I want Israel to exist, and but like they'll take it, they'll be like, what do you mean? What are we doing?
What do you think of the people with that take? Like
I mean,
that narrative.
I think Zionism needs to be defined by its actions, right?
Its
Which is
manifestation.
over 75 years of colonialism,
Yes.
genocide,
Yes.
forced displacement,
Yes.
murder,
Yes.
rape. You know what I mean? That's what it can be defined
Right.
by. There are people who can believe whatever they'd like about it, but that doesn't really affect the material
What it
conditions
actually has done
on
and
the ground.
continues to do.
Right? You would never ask like a white South African person, "Hey, what did you think of apartheid?"
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like you would never give weight to what they had to say because they'd be like, "I think it's just the right for white people to settle in our national homeland," or
right,
whatever the
right.
fuck they had
You
to say.
don't go up to the
Yeah.
KKK like, what do you think? White
Yeah.
being
You
white
don't
means to you?"
platform that
Right.
idea, right? Because it's insane. It's not to be normalized. It's not to be engaged with.
Right.
Right.
That position itself is violence.
Yes.
Right. You would never ask like a Nazi, right? Hey, what do you think of it? You know what I mean? It's like nobody cares what they think.
Right. Because it's had real life consequences.
Yeah, nobody cares.
And I think Atif, like, if you want to be empathetic to those that say
He's
that,
taking a selfie right now. I
Yeah.
love that. I just brought up the Nazis. He's like, let me get a selfie in. I like that, dog. I like that.
I was just
Heck
making
yeah,
sure my
brother.
hair was good,
Yes, sir.
Wait.
Can't have any
wait.
straight.
We did not see that coming.
Okay.
He said, okay.
I don't
That's the
understand.
best reaction to a joke. Okay.
yeah. Alrighty.
Anyway,
No,
so-
but yeah, this is a real thing. I was just saying if you want to
What were you gonna
address
say?
that people that the naivete of the people that happen to be Jewish that say, well, I just think to me Zionism is just having a state for ourselves. Well, you cannot. It's so naively unfounded in reality and detached that it's like you can't even. So let me tell you what it is, and then if you still don't agree that the manifestations aren't what they are, then it's either you're in denial or you're straight up okay with the genocide that's been happening in the name of Zionism, which is not, again, Judaism. It's not your religion. It's your sense of your national extremist
Ethno-nationalism.
ethno-nationalist, like intent.
Yeah. I mean, they want people to abandon the core tenets of Judaism and embrace Zionism.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The founders of Zionism did not like Jews. They were secular.
very-
They said the anti-Semites will be our best friends.
Yep.
And they were right. They
did say
coordinated with the Nazis to colonize Palestine. The Ha'avra Agreement allowed for the economic transfer and the purchase of land in Palestine.
Yeah,
right?
they were basically like, oh, okay. The anti-Semites were like, this is a way to get rid of the Jews, and,
Right.
and then this is
It's a common solution,
Yeah,
right?
Go ahead,
Shared
sure,
motive.
right?
That's-
You know, it's a continuation of the Nazi project, right? The Nazis realized like their game was over. And so they got incorporated through the CIA, through Operation Paperclip. They built NASA, and they also went to colonize Palestine. There were a lot of Nazis who escaped to Palestine.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also a continuation of the South African apartheid project, right? Because it's like you have a lot of these South Africans who were living there in supremacy. They really loved it. Then South African apartheid fell.
Right.
And they fucking converted to Judaism, threw on a yarmulke, and started colonizing the West Bank.
Are you serious?
100%. There's a Vice documentary about this,
This is-
where they're...
And didn't the United? Sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean,
Vice,
it's also a continuation of the KKK's like white supremacist project. That's why you have, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a video of like a white Southern
Christians,
guy
like, support.
who, no. This is like, he was in Gaza.
Oh.
He was in Gaza leading a troop, like a platoon of troops. And he was giving
I have
this
seen
speech.
him. He's like, if y'all don't,
He was
come
like,
here
we're going to
today-"
drop enough nukes to scare God Almighty himself.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like, okay, first of all, God gave you the land. Why are you bombing it? You know what I mean? Like, let's be real. That's not very nice.
I thought you were religious. What happened?
Yeah. And then second, it's like, why are you from Kentucky in Gaza
I
right
swear
now?
to God, I couldn't understand that. My brain didn't. I didn't know. What
He felt like he was leading a sermon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It
But
was
like
kind
for
of
Satan
it was
or
kind
something.
of motivating, and I'm not gonna lie. In the
Okay,
worst
well, we
fucking
cut
way.
that part out. You know what I mean? What the fuck?
Motivating?
What?
Not
You're
motivating.
watching the wrong videos
I'm
for
saying-
motivation, man.
I don't mean motivating. Like he was giving that speech you would see in a movie to
Yes,
the troops,
yes.
and in such a
Remember
fucked
the
up
Titans
way.
type of
In
speech.
such a
Yes.
fucked up way, dude, because he's telling them to bomb my fucking people.
Exactly.
But he's making it like a movie, and the Israelis, the people in the IDF were laughing,
Cheering.
They were laughing. A lot of them were like,
Yeah,
like,
they loved
finding
it.
humorous.
But that's because it's an amalgamation of all of these white supremacist projects.
Yeah.
Right? That they find themselves in Palestine.
A cesspool.
Wait, so you're saying what's happening in Israel and Palestine is rooted in white supremacy?
100%. Zionism is a white supremacist ideology.
Yeah. Newsflash.
Newsflash today.
Right.
But
Yeah,
what
I thought that
about
was common knowledge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, not
what
common,
about
common, but
all the brown people?
you know,
So, I mean, there are
great question.
black people who are agents of white supremacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that Obama is a good example, right? Because he is technically the first black president, right? But he's also somebody who dropped the most bombs on the Middle East.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he did.
And so it's like he did that for the betterment of multinational corporations,
Right.
He did that so that certain people could be enriched,
Yeah.
through power, through money, and it's like, yeah, that's that's a brown and black person acting in favor of white supremacy, right?
100%. Man,
They have a couple. They have a bunch of agents like that over there in the occupation. You know what I mean? They managed to colonize North African Jews in their minds, right? But do people know the name Solomon Tekka?
Who's that?
He's an Ethiopian Jewish kid who was murdered by the occupation, by their police force, right? In the same way that like black and brown people, indigenous people in the United States are targeted for colonial violence by the police force.
Yeah.
That happens to black and brown people inside of the occupation, inside 48.
Interesting.
They get dropped regularly.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did they say that he did? Nothing?
I mean, he existed. I don't know.
They're racist. They're
Yeah.
racist cops with guns
Yeah.
and military equipment. They've done that to all Palestinians, like a lot of Palestinians in the West Bank. So
Yeah. They also
are-
forcibly sterilized Ethiopian
yes,
women.
Yes, they did.
So,
Is that a fact?
100% it's
it
a
is.
fact.
It
Okay.
is.
I'm learning
They also
something.
We
sprayed
mentioned that
down.
already.
Yeah, we did mention.
We mentioned that in the previous episode, but I wanted to talk about also the Yemeni Jews because
They sprayed them down with DDT when they first arrived, right?
There were Yemeni Jews who had their children stolen in the Yemenite affair.
I've heard this.
In the
too.
same way that they're
Oh,
stealing
yes,
children
yes,
from Gaza right now.
Right.
So
They
why
s-
do they do that?
I mean, who knows why
mean-
a kidnapper kidnaps? You know what I mean? I have no
Right.
idea.
I mean,
Right.
there is a hypothesis at least.
I've heard various theories. I'd rather not speculate. What I know is they were stolen children.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
That's
saying-
all you need to know.
I was just saying, like, from what I understand,
it was a
they-
genetic motivation. It was
They
some
wanted
people
to,
say that.
yeah, pretty much
Let's ask-
whiten them.
Let's ask this question: why is it illegal to take a DNA test in Israel?
I don't know. I don't write the laws over there.
Isn't that a weird law, though?
I mean, yeah, it's fucked up.
Kind of a weird law.
Especially because a lot of them are like a lot of the companies are like based over there, and
Yeah.
they have a lot of like influence in the reading. So sometimes if you test if you're from Palestine, it won't say Palestine,
Yeah.
right? It'll say something like Levantine,
Right.
or it'll say like Syria,
Right.
Right.
Or they even have like isn't Ashkenazi its own category,
Yeah.
and then Mizrahi. But you know what's about the Israel
Almost
gathering different colonizers?
nothing. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's like the Avengers of white supremacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, did you hear about the
Assemble.
Epstein? Right.
Thanos.
Right. Did you hear
Yeah.
the Epstein? They were saying that.
Never heard of him. Yeah,
Right.
of course. Yeah,
Well, they
yeah.
were saying they were saying he had.
So he had ties to Mossad as well. Ghislaine Maxwell, her father, Robert Maxwell, was a Mossad agent. He was murdered. Many people believe that Epstein was like a honeypot thing where they bring like politicians and then they trap them with, having information about the fact that they have
blackmailing them about the minor situation. Yeah. And didn't they say that like Israel has almost become a safe haven to some of these?
Oh, it is a safe haven for pedophiles.
That's crazy.
The occupation is a safe haven for pedophiles.
Like
people go there.
Hollywood execs and stuff.
Brett Ratner just ran over there because he had charges he had to run from. People run from charges in the United States. They'll either be in the process of being charged or they'll be convicted, and then they will dip and find citizenship inside the occupation.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So not only the white supremacists, but also the...
Yeah, if white supremacy wasn't enough for you, they're also pedophiles, folks.
Jeez. That's, I don't know, what type of Avengers that
Are you guys still standing with that? Are you guys still standing with that?
So are you so it's just a place for Jewish people to exist, right? No, it's a lot more complicated than that.
Yeah. Anybody who tells you that, you should tell them it's a safe haven for pedophiles.
Yeah.
And obviously people do take a boat there. Like there are regular people living there that don't have like, they're disconnected.
Well, I know a Yemeni guy, a guy who has Yemeni origins, and he's Jewish, and he was born in Israel, and he was telling me, he's like, I can't go travel anywhere because my passport says Israel. But like it's also
there are people in Gaza with no water, and they're being pulled from the rubble,
and they can't travel outside of Gaza.
If they get to the border at Rafah, they're being charged upwards of 10,000 last I checked.
My family, we had,
it keeps going up, by the way. Like the price keeps going up every single day.
So you have to pay to leave Gaza.
Yes, you have to pay to leave. People are being extorted.
My cousins just left to Egypt, like Ulad Amti, like the sons of my dad's sister, just left, and they had connections, I guess, so they got a deal on it. They paid $4,000.
Hey, but I feel bad for your friend who can't travel. You know what I mean? That is tough. Yeah.
I mean,
who cares?
Speaking of which, I wanted to.
I kind of want to talk about the history.
Hold on, real quick. I'll take this opportunity. We're going to start fundraising for my family. My sister called me and said to basically start doing something with my platform to raise money for them because they're going to need to resettle in Egypt. And they left with the skin on their backs and backpacks or whatever, they don't have.
I'm very glad they got out.
I'm sure they had a bag or two or whatever, but still, thankfully they got out, but now they're in Egypt with no money.
This is what they want. This is what the occupation
We're supporting them, but we need support.
Yeah, it wasn't a choice for them to leave. I spoke to Plestia recently. I'm the co-host of the Palestine pod. I spoke to her on the pod, and she's like, we established, it's not a choice when you're being forcibly displaced. Right, your choice is to either die or leave. Right,
forcibly.
And Palestinians always choose life, and so it's like, people are talking shit right now about Motaz for having left, and it's like he is literally one of the most important journalists of our lifetime.
Don't you dare speak
Same
his
with
name,
Plestia, same with Bisan, right?
Yeah.
It's like same with Hind. Like all of these people are crucial voices that will be remembered by history. How dare anybody say anything negative about them?
You do not know this man's what he's gone through. Don't even dare.
Palestinians do journalism on such a high level that American Western journalists aren't even fit to kiss their feet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's what did they say? It's the most,
except for Ileana right here. She is one of our star journalists on this.
The most dangerous place for journalists in the world.
Yeah, I mean, the UN said it's a graveyard for children. The UN said it's Gaza is a graveyard for children.
Right.
I mean, what needs to be said?
That sounds pretty cool.
What do you think about this whole ICJ thing?
I mean, big fan of them being held accountable. Would love to see more courts challenging them and charging them with crimes against humanity.
Yeah, right.
Do you think something will come out of it, or you think just awareness of it is good?
I think it's a growing momentum of, things shifting, right?
Yeah.
Things are coming in all different angles. Mm-hmm. Liberation will not come from the ICJ. You know what I mean? But the ICJ is a good tool to be used in the struggle for liberation, right?
And so, like a diplomatic level.
I think once the ruling comes down, hopefully it's in our favor, right? What will happen is it will be referred to the UN Security Council.
Oh, you think they're going to convict them?
We're going down hypotheticals,
Inshallah.
right? This is what we want. I think it's very possible.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw their defense. It was trash.
It's terrible.
Right?
Yeah.
Repeatedly saying Hamas is actually not a legal defense. coming from a Jew.
Right, right. And you know, they did have to acknowledge multiple times, like, obviously the devastation in Gaza has been pretty bad. So, like...
Yeah. My favorite part was that guy who mixed up his notes and then his own throat tried to close on him.
It seems like my...
Someone shuffled my
there is the
paper.
list. There is the list.
Fuck up.
Someone shuffled my paper. It was Hamas. You know what I mean? Come on.
Bro got hit with it. Yeah. Come on. He's like,
About Tuesday.
no, bro got hit with an internet error. The page you're looking for doesn't exist.
He started
motherfucker.
buffering in real time. His throat was like 404 error.
Exactly.
He's like, there's a list, but I can't find it.
There's a great defense, I promise. In these notes somewhere.
Right, it says it.
Yeah, so hopefully they are, the ruling comes down in our favor. The court, the ICJ, has a history of ruling against genocide in the case of Bosnia and Serbia. So the Serbians, against the Serbians who committed genocide against Bosnians.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to the Bosnians.
Yeah, shout out Bosnia. Absolutely. They ride hard for Palestine as well. And so what happens in that case, if that happens, is it gets referred to the Security Council, right, at the UN. But we all know that the Security Council is fixed because the U.S. will provide diplomatic cover, as they always have. The thing is, it doesn't actually matter. Once they block the ruling, as they're likely to do, right, with a veto, what happens is it gets referred to the General Assembly because of the ruling, right? So this is one of the first times in history that we're getting to bypass the Security Council, which we know is already bought and paid for. The General Assembly, however, is more favorable to Palestine, right? They're the ones who are passing all of the resolutions that are like, y'all got to stop killing people, y'all got to stop murder, you know what I mean? Stop stealing land, give land back. Like that's all coming from the UN. And so it's like,
General Assembly, which is the rest of the countries.
Exactly.
Not the 5 that run the Security Council.
Yes, exactly. The majority of the countries that are a part of the UN support Palestine, right? Just like the majority of the world when you go out and you see the protests, right? If you see these genocide protests, they're small. Like they don't have numbers like that. They only seem big on the internet because they have bots coming from all over. Right. And so, we're going to find support in the UN. But like I said, the UN is just one of many tools, right? The resistance is what's going to liberate Palestine. Let's keep it a buck.
You mean they're on all fronts?
Yeah. But like the resistance that's coming from the ground and the resistance that's coming from the outside, right?
People.
Everybody in diaspora who is doing their best to fight the occupation in their own way. We're all engaged in struggles in our own way. You're doing it through art and podcasts. You know what I mean? There are people who are doing it through tatris. Like there are people who are just keeping the culture alive, and that is a part of it.
100%.
But a part of it is also loading a clip inside Janine, right? Let's keep it a buck. And so,
I mean, no revolution that's like, in Algeria.
Yep.
They didn't exchange love letters, right?
100%.
Yeah, they were.
Nobody has been liberated with kumbayas.
Right.
Especially when kumbayas aren't what's attacking you.
Yeah. So, and it's also the only thing the occupation understands: violence. They only understand violence.
Bye-bye. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for letting me in.
Eliana. So Eliana, if you don't know, she's a really esteemed journalist. Like she's a native Puerto Rican, so she's really attached to like the Palestinian.
Well, and I probably wasn't talking about her when I was talking about Western journalists.
I know. Of course, I didn't mean to make it.
No,
I don't
it's all
think
good.
it came across.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shout her out.
Heck yeah, nice.
Yeah, man.
Cool to meet her.
Yes, sir. But yeah, man, I agree, and I wanted to answer a question that Atif said earlier, which was, what about the brown Jewish people, or the Arabs that are Yahud, our brothers and sisters that came from our countries?
Yeah, because they would...
Why did they associate with Zionism if it's truly like so racist and not for their benefit, right?
Well, they'll say they got kicked out of their countries, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I would...
that's why I wanted to kind of talk about the history so that people can...
Facts, we can. That's what I wanted
so I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Zionist agents were actually largely responsible for the turmoil that happened in the Middle East
100%.
among Iraqi Jews, among Yemeni Jews.
They carried out terror attacks.
They carried out terror attacks
against them to scare them into
in
coming.
public in order to galvanize the Iraqi public, the Yemeni public, Moroccan public against the Jewish population.
Right. But you know what I do wish, Atif, though, to say, even though, yes, this is a fact, and obviously I wish the Arabs never told them to leave.
Yeah, of course. I mean, truly, that
would have been the best thing for us to do, because we never were bad or mean to Jewish people in history as Arabs. We were always welcoming to them and gave them safe haven. That's why they were there in the first place.
Exactly.
So I wish the rulers, that's one thing I do wish we did better, was let our native Jewish population stay. And then the ones that wanted to immigrate, because a lot of them were immigrating out of sheer desire and will. It wasn't just being kicked out. Everyone just got kicked out. They wanted to go because there's a new state. And they didn't know what it was about yet, maybe, or they couldn't. It was too early to tell what the impact of it was going to be. So they left to this new safe haven. I wish we never kicked them out, because then we would have continued our regular, and then they'd have left to stay against us. But
there's a large Jewish population that's still in Tehran, right?
Yeah, that is true.
There's a large Jewish population that still exists in other countries in North Africa,
That's very true.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, Jews have always existed peacefully alongside people of other religions. It's only until the introduction of Zionism that you see this clear distinction, right? And this clear tendency towards violence.
But some European religions, or people in different countries before Zionism were still being violent, as you know, to Jewish people. But
yes, of course.
There's
been hostility towards Jewish people.
Yes.
I'm talking about Jewish people did not adopt any type of harmful behavior, really, up until the introduction of Zionism.
Oh, I see.
Right, the colonization, the idea that even Yemeni Jews can be colonizers, was not a thing among Jewish culture up until the introduction of Zionism.
I see what you're saying.
And people don't realize before 48, there were Zionist / Jewish terror groups.
Sure.
And the big three were the Haganah, the Irgun, and the Stern Gang.
Yeah.
And
Lehi as well. Yeah.
Lehi.
I mean, I think that's what
they're
they call it.
yeah.
So the Haganah turned into the IDF.
Right.
People don't.
It's a continuation.
And then the Likud party is an amalgamation of the other two, basically. So it's people don't get that. They don't know that history.
And another thing that I'll say is that about the white supremacist structure, most of the government positions and most of the well-paid positions are held by
Europeans.
people of Eastern European descent.
Yeah.
So
there's never been a
and
president.
then they'll say we have one Arab judge.
Right. They always have a token.
Yeah.
Right.
Right,
They love to let you know about their token.
Oh, I've heard that a lot. They have Arabic doctors and people in the government, and they say
I have a black
for
friend.
that reason.
It's exactly that.
They
It's
can
exactly
They
that.
say can they vote and stuff like.
I mean, they can vote, but what are they voting for?
Guess what? They're a guaranteed minority, and they'll be.
They can vote for murder or genocide. You know what I mean? What are your options?
Okay, that's a hard one. I think I'm not going to vote in this election.
Yeah, and I was talking about the American election just now, actually.
Joe
genocide,
versus
Joe, or fucking Trump.
I was talking about elections over there, but also
that too.
Yeah. It's the choices of somebody who is over there, who is a brown Jew, who has been colonized mentally, who has been used as a pawn of white supremacy, right? Is to vote between somebody whose policy is murder and somebody whose policy is mass genocide.
Isn't that what the Americans do? The presenters at the ICJ hearings, aren't they black? The ones that representing America. Oh, no, sorry.
South African presenters?
No,
No, you're talking about the Security Council and them voting to veto.
The people who
they'll
vote
send a
that are
token.
I mean, Obama was the token.
Okay, I feel like this conversation has gone off the rails. What are we talking about right now?
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
As
I can explain.
Atif was saying, at the Security Council, when there's a vote, and America wants to veto, they'll send a black person to do it.
Yes. Yeah, so that's a good example of a token person who is an agent of white supremacy, even though they themselves are not white.
Same thing with the the people who do the news or the presentations in front of all the reporters.
Right, the press secretary. One of the press secretaries is a black woman. Another example of somebody who is engaging in the rhetoric and the ideology of white supremacy, who is not themselves white.
Bro, Nikki Haley.
Yes, she's Indian. Right?
Yeah.
She's Indian and she changed her name.
She's Indian.
And she changed her name to something really funny in Arabic.
Oh, yeah.
What is her name in Arabic?
Go F.
Someone tell him.
It means go F yourself.
Really?
In a way.
Well,
You think somebody like a funny Arab guy gave her the name?
Your name is Nikki Ali.
Yeah.
It's actually F myself. That's
Oh.
It's the funniest.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very fitting for her.
Yes, literally. But
Every
she's
time she
definitely.
talks, she's effing herself.
Yeah,
for sure.
man. So this is very true, and they internalize. A lot of people will internalize racism, and then they become agents of it, and that's what happened with the brown and Arab Jewish people.
Exactly.
And guess what? the European Jewish people even internalized racism into themselves from Europe. The anti-Semitism, again, that's what I was trying to make the asterisk. I thought earlier you were saying violence started against Jewish people only.
No.
when
Jews have been
Zionism-
under fire for many
Right,
years.
Right. But violence against them from Arabs did pretty much only start after Zionism.
Right. After the introduction of Zionism, people will
We
point
were
to
always
the, like
peaceful
a
together and-
like a period of the Great Arab Revolt, etc. There was like a few skirmishes that were largely about land theft. Right. And so it's like those were struggles against
Right.
colonialism.
Yeah, that was the beginning of
That was the beginning
project.
of the resistance
Exactly.
to Zionism
And the colonization.
And the colonization.
I saw
Exactly.
some really, really cool historical
Yeah.
photos, like of Muslim like fighters guarding synagogues against Christians.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Salah
it's just-
ad-Din
does it make
al-Ayyubi,
sense?
bro. Salah ad-Din was the protector of Jerusalem.
We're
and
always
he
we're trying
protected
to
Jewish
we're
people.
trying to say like we are
The most fucked up
brothers.
thing is that after the Holocaust, Palestinians accepted Jewish refugees into their houses.
Yes.
That's the most fucked up thing.
That's
and
what
then
happened to Muhammad Hadid.
exactly, I spoke
his
to
whole
Anwar
family.
Hadid.
Really?
Yeah,
What happened?
100%.
They
his
let him-
family.
Go ahead.
His family let a Jewish refugee family stay in their house, and then
heard this.
that house was stolen by that same family. The militias
No way.
And they
kicked
wouldn't
them
let them.
out.
They wouldn't let them take anything from their house.
The militias kicked them out. The
Alana-
Zionist gangs that we were
Yeah.
talking about, the Haganah, the terrorists who were responsible for the Nakba, kicked out the Hadid family, right?
And
they
He
let
said
the
they
others-
left on a donkey. That's all they had.
That's what Alana Hadid said in her interview with Abby Martin. She was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, they just the same
and then that
family
same family
kicked
lived
them
in
out.
their house.
I guess they were allowed to stay.
Yeah.
So which is a good segue
Crazy.
into the right of
Crazy.
return.
Yes, the right of return.
So then
Also.
eventually but imagine being in that Jewish family. Eventually you're in that situation, and so you now adopt.
And so when people ask, like, what about those people? Like, yes, obviously there's sympathy for them, but you don't ask about a thief, what happens to the thief.
Yeah.
You talk about the person who had their house stolen. You talk about the person who literally has the deed from the Ottoman Empire, the paperwork, who still has the key to their house. You talk about that person. You center that person in the conversation. And it's like, yeah, your friend can't go to the, fucking Greece.
You know,
Well, is there an argument? What is their argument of like why they deserve that piece
Well,
of land?
They have a number of different arguments. None of them are compelling.
Yeah, and on this specific, on the land, on the deed that you mentioned,
was heard about
the thing
that.
is, to be honest, like we were saying, it was a project. It didn't start at 48. So
No.
like some of this violence that happened before was the initiation of this project.
So if you're like a history buff, it
Yeah.
starts, Zionism goes back a long time because it's a Christian thing, right? Even before 1800s.
1590.
The Christians were initially trying to get Jews to Jerusalem to bring about the rapture. They believe that it's the Armageddon prophecy. And so that's why you have
Evangelical
50 million evangelical Christians
Supporting.
here in the United States. Joe Biden, who is one of them, right, supporting the occupation.
Right.
for
right?
the end times. So
to bring about the end times. That's what they want.
They call that Christian Zionism.
Yeah.
Christian Zionism.
I didn't
So-
realize that went back so far.
So longer than Jewish Zionism, there is Christian Zionism. Christians were running around Europe trying to get Jews to go to Jerusalem, and won't you know, for the longest time, Jews were like, I don't think so, right? I think I'm good. Because the deal was like, go and get raptured, and Jews know a good deal, right? And that was a bad one. And so we were like, no, thank you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then in 1890s, the Zionist Congress comes around, which is led by Theodore Herzl, other folks as well.
Yeah.
That starts to get into motion political Zionism, which is Zionism that we know today, right? That starts the transfer of Jewish people from all over the world towards Palestine. And so like the first settlements in Palestine.
It overtook cultural Zionism, which was the leading ideology at the time.
I mean,
which didn't want to establish a state.
Yeah, so there were many Jews who were against the idea of establishing a state. In fact, there was a labor union in the United States in like 1920 who said that if there is a state, it should be a one-state solution where people have equal rights. Like that's what they said in 1920, right? And then, so in the 1890s, you have the Zionist Congress. people start colonizing Palestine as early as 1890.
Yeah.
Right, there are Jewish settlements that start to take place.
Right.
Right, people from all over the world.
Isolated incidents. Some of them.
Not isolated, but just like not intrusive enough to like be a problem. Palestinians are very welcoming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. It was actually the first Aliyah, the second Aliyah. It was pretty like a concerted effort. I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, and then 1917, the Balfour Declaration comes around, right? So you have Lord Balfour, who is in the UK, and he's basically saying, like, we're going to give the place Palestine to the Jewish people. That's his thing.
Right.
After World War One.
That's World War after World War I. Exactly.
In
Then
conjunction with Lord Rothschild.
Right, and Rothschild as well. Then World War II comes around. Everybody knows, right? Jews start flocking towards Palestine, and Palestinians let them in.
Right, come on in.
Palestinians provide food, water, and shelter for Jewish refugees coming from the Holocaust. And then Zionist gangs kick out those Palestinians of their houses. That is the Nakba of 1948.
Nakba.
Okay? That is 1948. That's where a lot of the people who are now currently living in Gaza are from.
Right.
They're not from Gaza.
They're not from Gaza.
They are refugees from inside occupied Palestine.
100%.
Right? That's like 80% of the
Yeah.
population of Gaza.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's what happened in 1948. Then in 1967, there was another land theft, another grab, right? That's when they occupied Jerusalem, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, they just have slowly crept and like expanded the borders. And now they're talking about taking back Lebanon. And it's like, you were born in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, my God.
You've never been to Lebanon.
right.
What are you talking about?
right.
Who are these children and why are they brainwashed? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And I mean, they tried in 2006. They tried.
well, they did. They occupied Lebanon for a little bit. The Zionist entity did, but they were kicked out by Hezbollah. And inshallah, they'll be kicked out again.
I mean, again, it's definitely. So a lot of people have a lot of, because I'm Lebanese, and I mentioned this a lot, like when.
Wait,
I was
weren't
there
you there during
Yeah,
the...
I was there in 2006. I mentioned this on previous episodes, but yeah, I was 13 years old. I felt really helpless. But now that I'm like, it's 17 years later, I can go back and look at actually like really what happened. And there's one specific battle that was like the turning point. It's the Battle of Bint Jbeil, and I think it's...
That's where everyone is from Dearborn.
Oh, yeah?
They're all from Bint Jbeil, yeah.
Yeah,
they escaped.
Bint Jbeil, that was literally like a 300 movie, basically. And I don't want to like romanticize it or anything, but it was literally like 500 Hezbollah soldiers versus like 10,000 IDF soldiers.
Yeah.
And they still won.
Yeah.
So what do they there is no military solution to this.
Well, I mean, certainly not with that military.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly not with the IOF, with the diaper brigade.
Do you think there's ever like a way to coexist if they change their government or something? Or
Well, here's what I'll say is that if you're a Jewish person who does not want to live in an unoccupied Palestine, a free, unoccupied Palestine, I'm talking no checkpoints, no supremacy, right of return for Palestinian people, right, who make up the new government. Palestinian people make up the government. If you don't want to live there, you should fucking dip.
Move out.
You should dip, and I know you have another passport ready. Many of them have other passports with stamps on them, right? So it's like, I know not everybody does, but if you are somebody who is going to bank on Jewish supremacy, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Period.
Right. And then guess what? If we do rule and we establish law and order with reasonable people from all backgrounds, as we once did, then at that point you're welcome back, my friend.
Well,
under democracy and actual freaking humanity.
It's just what the labor union said in 1920, right? There should be one state where nobody has any specific privilege.
Right.
It should be everybody
Exactly.
with equal rights, if that's your thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like,
If you resonate with that,
a lot of people, just like they did at the end of South African apartheid, when they recognized that supremacy was no longer available to them,
They went
they
to
fucking
Israel.
dipped.
to Israel, right?
Yeah, they
Isn't
dipped.
that what you said?
They dipped to the occupation. They dipped to another place where they could maintain supremacy because a lot of people are only there for the supremacy.
Crazy.
So you take that away,
Crazy.
and you'll see a lot of them be like, "Actually, I don't even like being sunburned all the time." You know what I mean? Like,
Right. And then the ones that dipped for political whatever too, like
But do you think the Jewish state like the idea of a Jewish state.
Is a bad one.
Is it a bad one, or
Yes.
is the execution of it bad?
It's a bad one. It's against Jewish law. I had Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, a rabbi of over 30 years, on my podcast.
Not the guy that speaks with a soft voice. Like the Jewish people have come.
No. You're thinking of the Turakartai.
Okay.
He's the rabbi I'm referring to is based in New York also, but of a different congregation.
Interesting.
Not the tunnels, guys.
That's about it.
Yeah, but
What did the guy-
also I think we can establish Palestinians way better at building tunnels. You know what I mean? Come on, come on,
We'll take it.
and keeping people out of them.
And pronouncing ha instead of cha.
Yeah, that's tough every time they say hummus, huh?
But you said you had him on your pod, and then
Yes, so I had Rabbi Yaakov Shapiro, and he talked about how Jewish people are not meant to pick up arms, are not meant to colonize, and are certainly not meant to have a state that has a supremacist culture for Jewish people. It's very much actually against Judaism.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
100%, because God decrees that they'll be scattered in the land.
Sure. We're actually not supposed to return to the land of Palestine until the Messiah, is like what the ultra-Orthodox believes. But I think we can just say that, like, from do not kill, do not steal, we're not meant to pick up guns and murder people.
Right.
Right?
No matter where.
And yeah, anywhere. That's pretty much there's no like loophole to that
Right,
rule that it's like
right.
it's okay in Florida
Yes.
actually. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
But
right.
then the
The only time
argument,
it's okay is in self-defense.
That's what I was gonna say. Self-defense.
But self-defense is not
You're
aggression.
entitled to self-defense, and the Palestinian people are the only ones in this situation who are entitled to self-defense.
Self-defense entails being in your own home.
You cannot occupy and then self-defend.
Think of the law in America. When is the only place in this country, where is the only place you can kill someone and not be, with no questions asked?
Wall Street.
Right.
Where?
But where else? In your own home.
Oh,
An
okay.
intruder, no questions asked.
Depends
right?
on the state.
Depends on the state.
Depends on the
Hold
state.
your ground.
Texas, yes. California, no.
If they're walking away, like, what's
Dude,
the...
it-
California, it doesn't even
If
matter.
someone trips on your floor in California,
he's in my
they can
house.
sue you.
There was an instance where
Right?
like a burglar fell through somebody's skyline and they sued the guy whose house it was for like faulty whatever.
What the
And the guy won the case even though he was burglarizing
No
the
way,
house.
dude.
Yeah. California's fucked when it comes to
That's the most
you know.
American story I've
But
ever
in
heard
Texas, you know what I mean? You can shoot a guy in a couple different counties over. Like
Right.
it doesn't even matter.
in my life.
Like
Right. That's also pretty American.
Okay.
What the heck?
Okay, I was gonna say about the whole self-defense thing, you know, and then when people, especially Piers Morgan, he loves asking this question. He's like, "What is the appropriate response for what happened on October 7th?" And like, how much self-defense?
fuck
and
Piers
then
Morgan.
at what point does it become over response? You know what I'm saying?
well that presupposes that October 7th was like
The first
instance.
Well, people,
Right.
people will
Again.
say there was a ceasefire on the 6th,
And
but there wasn't.
That's why I brought up being in someone's home, bro. So maybe I got caught on a contingency like California. You can't do that, which is crazy.
Unless you're talking about October 6th, 1947. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like there was
right.
not a ceasefire.
right.
There was like there's been colonial violence ever since
You
then.
can defend yourself in your own home. The whole idea is they're in someone else's home.
Yeah.
So that right to defend themselves, if you want safety, then don't be in that home. Essentially.
Palestinians have the legal and the moral right to armed resistance. That is declared by the UN. Right?
But that being said, we shouldn't target anyone that's in their home just as a civilian, as a person. I personally disagree with that. So that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying in general, you are in an offensive position by being in an occupied territory. It's disputed
Exactly.
territory, and it was never yours before 75 years. So you're on the offensive position. So you can't argue self-defense. The thief can't trip on a freaking brick and then land in someone's home and then be sued, and then he wins the case. Again,
Yeah.
I can't believe
Yeah.
that's a real
All that
story.
is to say that
I can't believe that's a real story.
the person who's occupying will never be on the self-defense ever.
Yes.
Right.
There's
Period.
no legal self-defense of an occupying power. The only thing that an occupying power has the legal right to do is get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Stop the occupation and get the fuck out. That's literally their only legal right.
So they can't cut off the water and electricity.
That's illegal. That's collective punishment. That's a war crime, actually.
illegal.
Yeah.
Damn.
I know.
pretty fucking
I know
illegal.
Sarah Silverman would have you think it's the most humane thing you can do.
Right.
But it's actually a fucking fascist war crime.
Yeah. I mean, there were
You know who
stories.
Sarah Silverman reminds you of? Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I do actually. But
Girl on Jubilee?
Yeah.
I mean, they have all these actors like Chelsea
Shout-
Handler and
shout out
stuff
Shani.
going out there, like
Oh, yeah.
Scooter Braun.
Yeah.
Shut-
If you're bringing Scooter
The
Braun,
real heavy hitters of intellectual thought. Yes.
Yeah.
Scooter Braun.
His name is Scooter, bro. Your name is Scooter.
Scooter.
Fuck outta here.
I did see
Maybe he could roll away.
Literally.
Yeah, somebody was saying something about like Scooter Braun literally like.
Yeah, the
I feel like you're
Swifties
getting
hate him.
more Arab throughout the podcast.
Next thing you know, he's gonna be cutting a shawarma.
It's so bright. It's so bright in here. I just had to tone it down. That's all.
They're basically saying that Taylor, like, since Scooter Braun like slighted Taylor Swift in a very massive way, you you attacked America's sweetheart basically, and you're trying to use Scooter Braun to like save face. Like that's the worst thing you could possibly do.
Literally, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. There were 2 IOF soldiers who attacked college kids on a campus with chemical weapons recently.
What?
Yes.
I think I heard about that.
2 IOF soldiers, citizens of the occupation, came to Columbia University and then sprayed people who were peacefully protesting, Americans who were engaging in their protected First Amendment right.
What they spray him with?
Like a skunk water. So it's the same type of thing that they spray inside the Holy Land with those big trucks. It's so bad. It's so putrid. It smells like raw sewage and dead corpses, according to the BBC.
Wow.
Yeah.
What the heck?
And there's like a bear spray version of it that they brought and sprayed, citizens, American citizens. Can you imagine if like foreign operatives of any other country was committing a chemical attack against U.S. citizens? Don't you think that more people would be talking about that?
Right.
You know? But the only reason they're not is because they're a colony of the United States. The occupation is an extension of the United States. The United States is behind this genocide as well, right? None of this happens if Joe Biden says, we're cutting your funding. The only reason this happens is because they have total political cover.
Yeah.
So how does it end?
I can't talk about that online. I think you're trying to get me tripped up.
No, but I'm saying, like, if America supports them, does that mean that in order to implement some change, you have to elect someone that
No,
doesn't?
we're never going to get it from electoral politics,
Really?
right? So, yeah, no, not at all. You never vote your way out of fascism.
Revolution.
Yeah, revolution, the only way. Intifada, revolution.
Peaceful.
Like, we're so serious.
Peaceful revolution.
Sure. We're so serious about that being like the only solution, right? Intifada, revolution. It's not just a fucking chant.
This guy fucks for sure.
Thank you so much.
By the way, the shades, the
But
edibles.
Intifada,
The edibles.
I don't know if you guys know this, but Hasbro calls me Mikey Intifada.
Oh, yeah?
Hasbro gave me that nickname.
The toy company?
No. That's very funny.
Hezbollah, the little guy?
Yeah, exactly. The guy who hangs out with Khabib, right? The guy, yeah. No, the fucking propaganda arm of the occupation. Those
Really?
13,
Oh,
14-year-old idiots who comment Palestine never existed. Those are the folks who gave me the name Mikey Intifada because I'm a
Really?
bit of a menace to them online. Yeah.
Wow. Shout
You
out fucking Mikey
cyberbully Zionists.
Intifada.
Yeah.
Cyberbullying Zionists, like that's
Absolutely, bro.
on your dating profile. It says,
I'm not on those dating profiles.
"Oh, you better get on there because
Yeah,
the
no, I'm
Arabs
not.
are."
No, I'm good on
That's funny.
What is Intifada means revolution.
Try baklava.
Intifada, it means to shake off, right? It means to shake off
Unfod annak,
like
to shake something
the
off.
occupation, to resist against the occupation.
Dirt off your shoulder.
So wait, what?
Isn't that an Arabic beat too?
Yeah, probably.
I wanted to say, speaking of dating apps, real quick, sponsor break.
Hilarious.
Our favorite dating app is Baklava, and it's a dating app for.
I've never seen it once, bro.
I've
Oh yeah,
I've heard of
baklava.
it.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
heard of it?
I've eaten it. Yeah.
Hey, great job at promoting, asshole.
Yeah, I'm looking for my wife. So either I'm gonna go on baklava or I'm gonna go to a protest.
No, we're not sponsored by them, but I know the lady that.
No, I saw the funniest.
We should be sponsored by them.
we should.
Okay, first of all, we're not sponsored by
That's what
baklava.
this is.
First.
It's
You
my
guys just
friend.
read an ad for nobody?
They're my homies.
That's
you know?
fire.
I'm just shouting them out because they're my homegirls from Amman. Both of them are cool.
shouts out.
Are they
And
looking
so-
for a man?
Haha. Just to get
Or
this
two.
live. You're gonna have to get in line, my
four.
boy. There's a long line on
yeah.
Baklava.
Anyways,
so download
why
the
just-
app.
Nice. Smooth plug.
Baklava. Yeah. No, we'd love to work with you guys officially.
For the non-sponsor.
They sell those too.
Okay, nice. Plugs.
I learned the strategy from Atif, by the way. The first episode we did, he just shouted out all the brands.
Nice.
to try to get
Yeah.
sponsored.
Nice.
We landed none of them.
Well, we did the same thing at the Beyonce concert. I filmed like
With
a video
TickPick.
with TickPick and got a sponsorship off of that. So
Yeah.
you never know.
We got you that.
But there was a funny sentiment that's saying the Canary Mission website is the best website to find your Arab wife.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm on there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Like you just scroll through, like everyone who's down with the cause, like just go. Like they did the best job of like bringing the best people together.
They also like wrote a nice profile of me. I forgot I'd done a lot of that stuff, and they compiled a lot of my accomplishments. And I was like, "Oh, sweet! Thank you so much."
Oh yeah, I did win best artist at the Grammys.
No, but it was like he raised 100,000 for Gaza in 2021, and I was like, "I did do that." You know what I mean? Yeah.
Good shit.
Snap.
100,000. That's a lot.
Yeah, it was actually a little more over. We did like a mutual aid project, Miss Najah's Kitchen, and it was great. Yeah.
Okay. So
Is there-
you said that there's also a boycott that's happening right now? Or?
Yeah, so right now, Bisan, one of the main journalists on the ground, still in Gaza, she has called for a global economic strike from the 21st to the 28th. So I don't know if that's relevant for when this podcast airs, but I have not
It's gonna
spent.
keep going for
Yeah.
Yeah.
There'll be another strike.
What does it say? Don't spend any money at all.
So no bank transactions, no credit card transactions. Pay for things in cash if you have to. But yeah, basically try and pressure the economic systems to recognize that like we have power and the power is in our dollar. One of the aspects of our resistance is the boycott, the BDS movement. And so that's how South Africa fell, right? It fell from both the resistance of Nelson Mandela and the ANC and also the outside pressure of boycotts growing from companies, from governments.
Right.
And that's
in
until
America, you can't boycott.
there are certain states that have stipulations.
insane.
They've been sued by Abby Martin, and specifically in Georgia, and they raised it to now you have to be making over $100,000 for it to be relevant. We spoke to Abby Martin about it on the Palestine pod, and
I like Abby. She's great.
yeah, she's great. One of the best journalists in the West.
Her Joe Rogan clip back, she had the interview, showed, and she had videos over there.
She's been standing on business for a long time.
100% for a long time. She did the documentary Gaza Fights for Freedom. She's an OG. Yeah, so definitely support Abby Martin, the Empire Files. But what I'm saying is like, the growing pressure both from the inside and from the outside is what brings about the collapse of the occupation.
Right.
And do you see there's a lot of people
Hold on,
protesting?
Before we move on, sorry. The $100,000 thing though is it's funny because they just made the threshold higher, so the contract value now has to be higher.
Right.
So people that are getting 100,000, they're probably going to be more inclined to be like, whatever. I'll
Exactly.
keep it. So it's just a workaround. So that's
But
crazy.
there are
That's a
certain
law.
instances where you're not able to boycott because there is a law in place, and everybody in the United States should be challenging those laws.
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy
Yeah.
that these are laws in the United States that you cannot boycott financially. My cousin, we were just having this conversation. I was in Chicago with the family. It was a janazah. So it's like the men all sitting in the one room and having these conversations. It's a funeral, but we're talking, and they mentioned that, and he was like, he remembers when he first got to this country or earlier on in his life. He literally was confronted with a roadblock because there was a company that he didn't want to accept the products coming from Israel, and they're like, well, legally you have to. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I don't. It's a free country, America. And they brought it to him, and they actually made him do business with them. So it's a real law. It's crazy. But how long have you been? You said you've been doing the boycott for the past. You've been not spending money.
Well, Bisan called for it from the 21st to the 28th, so I've been abiding by that.
Have you been amazing?
She does it it'll be a week every so often.
She'll call, like last time she called for a single day. This time she called for a week, and I have not spent any money. I bought all my groceries prior.
A whole week.
I have paid for things in cash. I needed to buy gas because I had stuff to do, and so I did buy some gas in cash. But I've not done any bank transactions.
It's crazy.
I've not done any credit card transactions.
Good stuff,
A
bro.
side note about her, like the most dystopian thing is like she'll post and then she'll say, I'm alive.
She'll say, "Hey, everybody, I'm still alive.
I'm still
it's Bisan
alive.
from Gaza. I'm still alive."
Yeah.
Every single
The saddest update.
I love Bisan.
But I mean,
love to hear it.
We love to hear her. We love to see
hear
her face. Every time she pops up on my FYP, there's a sigh of relief.
I have her notifications on every day, just
Yeah.
so when it's morning there, I'm just like, thank God.
Yeah.
She's alive.
Well, anytime she posts, I see like the
Yeah.
algorithm knows what I like,
Yeah.
But it's also trying to smother me, right? Because we've been heavily censored by Instagram. We had our own account kicked off the internet. we have lost access to our accounts. You know, we get multiple strikes and stuff, and you only get it back if you have a back door, if you know somebody on the inside.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are locked out forever.
What are the reasons for kicking you off?
You know what's funny is they actually said that we got caught at a digital checkpoint. They said that.
What is that?
They said, so like the content, the algorithm will like recognize certain type of content and then hold it for review. And they called it a checkpoint. And I was in a meeting with like Meta representatives. I was like, don't you guys think that's not the best name?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't you think that's a little bit too on the nose for
They're
what's
like,
happening?
No, this is exactly.
Yeah. And so
That's so dystopic.
oh yeah, it's fucking tough. Anyways, so by the end of the conversation, they were like, yeah, so you got caught up at a digital checkpoint because it does flag certain type of content. But after review, we recognized that it was a mistake.
Oh, wow.
And so I actually remember that whole spiel because I've heard it like 10 times now.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah. But shout out to my guy at Instagram who does occasionally get me my account back. You know what I mean? That is nice of him.
Yeah.
No, I had the same
What are you
thing.
in the metaverse or something? What's going on here?
Nah, bro, they're trying to smother me. Like, if you look at my metrics, I'll have like 73 shares and 0 people will have seen it.
Oh yeah, the silencing has been real.
It's
bro.
crazy.
Like, shadow
Yeah,
banning.
yeah.
I kind of wanted to mention, like,
I've dealt
We had
with
the
that.
audio being taken off. On
Oh,
the
yeah.
videos,
it
didn't
wasn't
we?
that.
I've dealt with that on TikTok.
TikTok
where,
removes my audio. Yeah.
not the audio thing, but people will report the video as unoriginal.
Damn.
And
Kind of roasting you.
yeah,
At the same
I'm
time.
like, listen, they're like,
this video is hack, actually.
I'm like, dude, this is my video. I've never posted it anywhere. Why is it? Who posted this before me?
They're like, the content is just bad.
And I like appeal it, and I'm like, I made this video. Like,
That's the worst is when somebody saves your video, right? And then that video goes super viral, and then the algorithm thinks that he's copying his own work. That's what's
yeah.
So, but
or if they
anyway,
repost it.
yeah, exactly. But
Bro, the
I
worst
want-
for me is actually when I post a video and it immediately gets banned, like flagged. I one time
Zero
posted a
views.
video. I one time posted a video, and before I even finished posting it, it was like, video's been taken down.
Jeez.
Oh no!
Louise.
Literally, I had the same thing on TikTok with 0 views. All I asked in the interview was Andrew Tate or Kanye, and then the guy goes, and he like freezes, and they took that video down, and give it 0 views. I'm like, well, they were. I don't know. It was either Andrew Tate or Kanye. They were both canceled at the time. So
What is that, the presidential election choices? Come on.
who are you voting for, Andrew Tate or Kanye West?
Andrew Tate spoke the fuck up though. He stood on business in front of.
Let's not be positive
about
about Andrew
Palestine,
Tate on this
about
podcast.
Palestine.
I understand he gave money. We'll take money from them, but let's
That's
not
not it.
endorse
Yeah.
Andrew
I'm not
Tate.
endorsing him, but
I
I'm
know.
saying he spoke up for Palestine. I can call that
Sure.
something.
But yeah,
So,
I wanted to
go ahead.
touch up on something. It was kind of alluded to in the beginning, like this kind of like in between the Jewish community when you are like not Jewish enough or
Right.
you are a fake Jew or something.
Right.
And Atif and I literally witnessed this. We were at the supposed Gal Gadot movie screening. Like, we were
nice.
in front of that, and we were doing our videos. We were kind of like neutral. I'm the camera guy. He's just, doing interviews.
They're like, where are you from? And I'm like, I'm Lebanese. They're like, are you Christian? Or are you Hezbollah? And I'm like,
so that's what happened to us. But,
Those were your options.
Christian?
right.
oh, my name is Atif.
I'm Hezbollah. Merry Christmas, motherfuckers. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
Literally.
But yeah, but there were
I was
a
just
lot
saying.
of there was a Jewish guy, and then someone went up to him and was like, "Are you a JVP? Are you
They literally
self-hating?"
asked him
Yeah.
for his ID.
And
Who did?
The one Jew to the other Jew.
Okay, so a Zionist Jew approached a anti-Zionist
No, no,
Jew.
no.
He ended up. He's like, no, I'm not JVP. Like, he was so
He was a Zionist. They ended up pressing their own. Well, that actually happens. They've often killed their own citizens inside 48 thinking they were Palestinian. And then only once they recognize they pull out their ID, they're like, fuck. He was
There was
ID.
three. There was three
And then
just
they slowly
recently.
plant a kafia on their
Right,
body.
right, yeah.
Dude, weren't there hostages that came up with their hands up?
Yeah.
And
So
they got
3 of the
shot?
hostages who were waving had a white flag.
White flag.
And they were speaking in Hebrew.
Doesn't
got
get-
murdered by the occupation soldiers. Yeah. Because they have a straight up shoot to kill policy of anybody. That's what you're seeing why people with white flags are being gunned down in the streets
Talk about the
all the time.
the
It's like it
doctrine-
doesn't
the
get
doctrines
more
that they have.
symbolic than
Yeah.
a freaking white.
But you being a Jewish guy, like I'm sure you deal with that a lot. I mean, I've interviewed a bunch of people that are in JVP, Jewish people, And people in the comments are always like self-hating. You're not Jewish, anti-Semitic. Like, how do you?
I've heard all their highlight reels. Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Or how do you?
I mean, I just don't really engage with Zionists anymore. You know, like their rhetoric is not to be consumed. It's bad for your brain, and anything that they say is usually a lie. So there's really no point in humoring them.
Let's go through their talking points real quick.
I'd rather not.
I admired that about you, dude, because I remember he sent the idea for us to have like you speaking with a Zionist, and you're like, I just rather.
I don't
not,
fucking talk to Zionists.
Like,
we throw
not.
hands if we see them. Yeah. Like we're past debunking. We're past arguing with them.
But you don't think that's important?
That's 1990s, bro. It's 1990s when we're like, here's a debate between Noam Chomsky and fucking, whoever the fuck. Mr. Potato Head.
You know what it is?
You know
It's like the epic rap battles of history. Remember those shits?
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like all of those conversations have been had, right? They're
Yitzhak
done.
Rabin versus Yasser Arafat.
What are we doing, bro?
Celebrity death match.
Presented by Piers Morgan.
So one of their like PMs who was trying to bring about peace, was trying to make peace with Palestinians, was murdered by a Zionist, like a settler, a fanatic of the.
Wait, so you said the Prime Minister of Israel
was murdered by one of their own
because he wanted to make peace?
peace.
I mean, it was a piece with a lot of asterisks.
Look, it wasn't a great
contingencies.
peace deal. We can all talk about like the barometers of the peace deal. It was
at least
bad.
He was trying to,
but he was trying to make peace.
Two-state solution.
Right.
Yes, essentially, he was trying to codify the two-state solution, but
And they offed him.
They killed him because they can't even accept that.
It's Ben Gvir and Netanyahu. Their party is what.
Their party, the Likud party, the person who was responsible for murdering Rabin was from that party.
Can we talk about these?
And I think it's important to mention that
the peace deals.
Yeah,
yes,
so-called
and this
peace
peace
deals
was not even that good of a peace.
They're
deal.
all like they all
There's a
give
lot
up
still got
Palestinian
killed for
territory. They all give up right to return, pretty much. They all give up control of the water supply. There's absolutely nothing that is beneficial
security zone
about these peace deals. So when you hear Zionists say, "Oh, they gave up peace deals," they gave up peace deals. No. They did not. First of all, they accepted Oslo, right? So you should get the fuck out. And on top of that, the so-called peace deals.
I don't understand what that meant. Accepted
the Oslo Accords.
So it's like they should abide by the 67 borders, which is what Oslo said, right?
Okay.
But they should get the fuck out of the West Bank because there are over 750,000 settlers that are against Oslo, right?
Okay.
There's a lot of even the more extreme people that have now accepted the 67 borders. You
Right.
know, one specific extreme group of people updated their charter to accept the 67 borders, and this is a little known fact. But go ahead.
Yeah. And so the Zionist settlers couldn't even accept that. They couldn't even accept colonization, but just on like a lower level. They want what Ben Gvir wants. They want the entirety of Palestine.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea, which is now a slogan they are using after telling us that it was a genocidal slogan for, the last 30, 40, 50 years.
I wonder why they. I wonder why they tell us it's a genocidal slogan.
Because when they used it, it was. They actually are responsible for using it in 1953. I spoke to Miko Peled. Okay, his father was General Madi Peled, right? One of the generals responsible for the Nakba, right? And so he said that in a presentation where David Ben-Gurion was present at the fuck that guy. So David Ben-Gurion was at the presentation, and General Madi Peled said that they want to take from the river to the sea because what they were talking about was territorial control. Right. From the river to the sea.
It was
and so
how you refer to it geographically.
And then in the Likud party chapter, there is also a reference to taking it from the river to the sea. So you have numerous instances where the Zionists are using from the river to the sea to mean genocide.
Genocidally.
And they do that a lot.
This is why
right?
they project it. That's why when we say it, they're like, "You mean genocide?" No, bro, we actually mean freedom.
Y'all meant genocide.
Y'all were the ones that meant
we meant liberation.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, this theme of stealing is such a it's so insane to watch. You know what I mean? They there's nothing original about them.
Oh yeah, everything's stolen.
Even Hebrew
is
the
not
modern Hebrew. It was made in the 1880s.
Totally, it is a modern incarnation of
Arabic.
the language that Jews spoke, which was Aramaic. Jesus spoke Aramaic. Right? There was ancient Hebrew as well, but it's not the same as the amalgamation of modern Hebrew. Modern Hebrew was brought about to support the Zionist settler colony.
By Ben Yehuda. He was the one that
so they wanted to
revived the
get
language.
they wanted to get like European Jews who spoke Yiddish. They wanted to get Moroccan Jews who spoke Arabic. They wanted to get people who spoke various different languages
modernize and
to
amalgamate
speak this one language, so that they would be easier to colonize.
because they know that having a language is one of the tenets of a nationality.
Exactly. If you're a Yemeni Jew, right, and you don't speak Hebrew, and then these weirdos come up speaking to you in Hebrew, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be harder to convince you to leave your home.
Right.
Yeah.
They got to rally around common identity, common
Exactly.
flag,
They
common
probably spoke.
culture,
They
common
probably spoke
language.
Arabic, right?
They spoke
they spoke
Arabic,
Arabic.
or they spoke Judeo-Arabic, which
I mean,
was
that's why a lot of our words sounds very similar.
yes.
And also because, but also because when Ben Yehuda compiled the modern Hebrew, he added a lot of Arabic words. He pulled from
Yeah.
Arabic, Yiddish, and some
Yeah.
other languages. Now, obviously, ancient Hebrew is ancient and it's biblical,
Yeah.
but
Sure.
it's different.
Of course.
Than,
It's pretty
It's
much
super
died
different.
off. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone.
I think it's
speaks-
there's a percentage. I tried looking it up the other day. I don't want to butcher it, but it's not a
Ancient
large
Hebrew speakers would
percentage.
not recognize modern Hebrew. They would be like, "Why are you
Right,
speaking
right,
gibberish?"
Right.
Why are you speaking European?
Or you're just like, "Why are you speaking a made-up language?"
And you mentioned earlier like the fact that the Zionist leaders initially were did we mention this, that they were against they were kind of trying to get away from Judaism in a lot of
Well,
ways.
yeah, they were secular Jews themselves, and they have many quotes that are like, "I don't care what it means to be a Jew. Learn how to shoot."
Theodore Herzl said you want to be it would behoove our kids to convert to Christianity.
I mean,
his son converted to Christianity and then committed suicide.
a lot of the Zionists also turned away Holocaust survivors because they didn't find them to be like fit enough to serve in the army, right? So they literally sent them back to Poland and Germany, right? And then, the Holocaust survivors who are living inside 48 right now, who are living inside occupied Palestine, there's 50,000 of them who live in poverty. Below the poverty line. They exist solely, they live because there are mutual aid groups who provide them with groceries and stuff.
Oh wow.
So you want to talk about how this is like a safe haven for people from the Holocaust. Why are they living under the poverty line?
What the heck?
Why are there pedophiles who have apartments who are paid for while Holocaust survivors struggle to find food?
They
Well, you can't bring up one genocide to talk about another genocide.
That was a clip, bro. Oh, that girl is going to be viral for all the wrong reasons. Like,
bites her paper.
yeah, she said, because at first she thought, like, when people started laughing at her for saying that, she thought they were laughing about the Holocaust. And so she was about to go into, like, super victim mode. You know what I mean? But then she realized what she said. She was like, oh, fuck, I said this is a genocide. Like, that's kind of their talking point where it's like,
yeah.
it's not a genocide.
Right,
Well,
right.
she fucked it up because she went off script.
Sounds like freaking the Jubilee guy, bro. Remember we were I'm not sure if you saw. I did
he
the
slipped
interview.
it, yeah.
I did the interview with do you know Jubilee?
No.
Did
I
you
know
see-
Jew belong.
Oh yeah. Jubilee. I know that page.
Those are the fucking billboards that I've been roasting online.
No, Jubilee is like
Oh, though, yeah.
Cut
The
series.
Yeah. I have seen those videos.
Israel video. I was
He did
I was
a-
one of
okay.
the speakers
He did a
on the
art-
Palestinian
I think I
side.
saw that that was a while ago.
It was like
there
a
was
couple
a few.
a month
There was
ago.
one that
Okay.
just happened.
There
but
was one
like,
along. Yeah,
It was like a table discussion, and
they redid it for this.
I saw the one a while ago
Yeah,
where the
I know
guy
that.
was like, you can't say it's not my land.
You can't say it's not my land.
Yeah.
Of course, it's my land. It
Yeah.
will be.
Yeah,
if I don't take it, someone
So
else will.
they redid
Yeah,
it.
that's a Zionist proverb, actually.
Jacob,
So-
shut up, Jacob.
Yeah.
Yaakov.
Wait, what were you saying?
They don't read the
about-
Torah, but they read a book that is that. You know what I mean?
Right.
The
no,
guy,
I was
what did
saying
he
that,
say?
So on
Slip-
that video, so they remade this that
Yeah,
video,
yeah.
and they freaking cast your boy, and I was
Nice.
pumped, obviously. And I went and I did, we did our thing, man. We are represented. It was a 4.5-hour discussion, and they unfortunately only put an hour and a half of it. So
Yeah.
What did
cut
you
it
were like,
out.
I want the whole Joe Rogan podcast in
I'm
there.
like, well, I just wish
What did
they
the
cut
guy-
more selectively. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
cut this part, for example, or did they cut? No, they put this part in there. The guy goes, well, for us, when we look at this occupation, well,
I don't
call it occupation. I call it protect your country from terrorists.
yeah.
So he corrects
You said I think you had it right. Is that what you
I'm
said?
like, yeah, no, you called it right.
Yeah. I saw that.
Yeah. But I wish I was more specific, because some people were like, why did Talal say he called occupation right? Or he called it protect your country. I'm like, no, I meant when he said occupation.
See, here's the thing about posting content online is people will do their best to misunderstand it, right?
I guess, yeah.
As somebody who's been posting content consistently,
Right.
people are always trying to find a way to make you
sure.
seem like you're not saying what you're saying.
But honestly, specifically that particular one, I like besides that occasional off comment, I was really really pleasantly surprised with the positive response like we got. Like everyone was for Palestine.
Most people
the
rock with
majority of the
Palestine.
comments.
Yeah.
People liked, you know,
I mean,
they said some good things
most of the
about
world
me
has
and
been
shit.
colonized, right? So there's no way, the majority is going to be with the
Also, the thing about doing CIA coups all over the world is you don't really build a lot of friendships. You know what I mean? So people who have been like couped, they're not super sympathetic to the U.S. or its military outpost in Palestine.
Right. Right.
Or Iraq or anywhere they are.
Yeah, exactly.
It's true, man.
So we touched on the right of return stuff, right? A little bit, like.
I mean, not really. The right of return says that I, as a descendant of two Gazan parents, get to go back to Gaza at some point. You know how much?
Inshallah.
Inshallah, man. You know, I screenshotted this and I meant to send it to you guys, but I didn't get a chance to. But I was looking up like how far back does Palestinian heritage go? And I was looking at Gaza specifically, like what artifacts do we have to counter this rhetoric of like Palestine wasn't a country? So nationhood and being a country, by the way, it's an interesting argument because that's a European construct. So it's like, yeah, I don't need your nationalism to be a people that live on a land that belong to a culture and identity. So yeah. But,
Gaza is one of the oldest ports in the world. It used to be like a stop between trade routes.
Yeah.
And it was known for its wine. I think it's like Herodotus or something like that talks about going to Palestine, going to Gaza, and having the wine there.
Really?
And
I
how
didn't
it was
know about the
known.
wine part.
Yeah, and how it was known like in the region as having some of the best wine.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard they had good textiles too. That's where the word Gaza comes from.
Gauze.
Gauze.
The
Gauze.
term
Gauze.
gauze
Gauze.
comes from Gaza. Yeah.
Yes, like the one you wrap your wounds
Yes.
with.
So
The
anybody
one
who's
they're
ever had a
wrapping
medical procedure has benefited from
Gaza.
Palestine.
Gaza.
Yes,
Is it
from
crazy
Gaza.
that they
Yeah.
need the gauze the most now, bro?
Yeah, I mean,
Poetic.
hopefully it's not always that way, right?
Inshallah, man. And hopefully we will get to go back one day.
Yeah.
man. And so
I believe we're closer than we've ever been before.
inshallah, man.
Like, I've been doing this work a long time, and I've never seen so many people who are energized, radicalized, and down to change the way that they are experiencing life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
there's a radical mental shift that's had to happen for a long time, and it hasn't, right? Because people are easily distracted by consumerism, by, you know, whatever. Like, whatever is the latest thing to be
Yeah,
distracted
yeah.
by, people were easily captivated by that. But it feels as though Palestine has caught people's attention in a way that it will never go away.
100%. 100%.
And it's about time.
100%,
Like,
bro.
welcome everybody. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
thank
Like,
you. Yeah,
yes, we're
thank
happy
you.
to have
Please.
you.
Take a
This
seat.
didn't start on October 7th. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we all have a lot of catching up to do if we
Right.
believe that it started on October 7th,
Right,
because
right.
you need to listen to Nakba survivors of the 1948. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's a great channel called Refugee Chronicles that is going around various spots in Jordan, Syria, whatever, where people are, and then interviewing them, getting their testimonies of them being kicked out in 1948. And they're still alive. They're still alive right now.
My grandfather's one of them. Like, I
Exactly.
was just with him in Chicago.
Really?
They
Yeah,
have
bro.
their keys to their houses, and they should be allowed to return.
100%.
Like, there's no argument that you can make.
We're gonna teach Michael a phrase. Say miye,
Me,
miye,
Mia,
Bill,
Bill,
miye.
Mia, Bill, Mia.
Yes.
What is that?
Translation?
100p. It's like 100.
It's like 100 per 100. Like, yeah.
It's like
it's
100%.
Atif's favorite expression
Miye bil miye.
in English.
What do you think about like all the people in Israel that are?
Hold up, he's about to talk about right of return.
Oh, okay. Okay, we'll come back to this because I've been wanting to ask about this.
Yeah.
About them like protesting in their Knesset.
I mean,
or
I'm not-
whatever.
I'm not super interested in them.
Really.
I am interested in the right of return, though.
I was just about to say something.
But don't
because I
you
just
think that
brought it
it's
up.
like you don't think that it's important for
I think it's great that pressure is coming from all angles,
Uh-huh.
even from the inside. I'm not interested in centering the settler protests because they want a more quiet occupation. They want, you know, the state of affairs to go back to normal, to when they weren't affected by the colonial
The
violence.
protests aren't necessarily for Gaza. It's for
Right.
them, like
for
their
them.
own life.
It's for them.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And Hey, no, you're all good.
No,
dog.
I'm just,
We're just dropping-
just
It's
dropping
all
knowledge.
love, bro. You know what I mean?
You know.
Dropping knowledge.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say, I wish I have my my phone on me, but I was looking up this heritage.
not a phone right there?
Yeah, it's dead.
Oh,
iPhone 5. Yeah.
It's dead. I wish I had it access. These
I wish I
guys,
had my charger.
these guys continuously.
Era Baba vibes. Who has my charger?
Yeah.
It's on my head.
it's in my driveway.
Anyway, bro, whatever. Like
Charger.
basically, there was a palace. I'm on the interweb scouring, just looking up, Palestinian heritage, and I come across this one website, and it's talking about specifically Gaza artifacts that can be dated back to our culture and heritage, and it goes back a long time, by the way. And literally, this came up again randomly on the internet in the dark in the corners of the web somewhere, and the palace Si Salim is listed as one of the original, like a heritage site
What's
that was
that?
recently destroyed. That's my grandfather's home.
Dang, your grandpa had a palace?
Yeah, bro. And I knew he had a palace.
Palestine.
A palace.
Palace lying in ruins now. What do you think that line was about?
100%.
So the writer.
But I didn't know. But to see
that's
that, but to see his name on paper and on the internet, like I knew he had money and stuff, and he had influence, and I knew we weren't one of the we were a well-off family, alhamdulillah.
Successful.
And they took from us everything, right?
Yeah. That's why, in addition to the right of return, reparations are also something we should be talking about.
Reparations.
Palestinians deserve reparations
100%.
because they've been robbed economically for 75 years. Families like your own have lost, millions of dollars.
Right.
Like the economic toll is not even calculable.
Right.
Like it's like billions of dollars. You know what I mean? And it's like it deserves to be given back.
Compensated.
It deserves to be taken away from the people who stole it and redistributed to the people it was stolen from. It's a very simple concept, right?
And guess what? There's a lot to go around at this point.
Yeah, of course. That's what happened to Jewish people. Jewish people got reparations, right? Black people deserve reparations as well.
Your face.
Just cover up even more. Just the next phase, phase 3.
Super
But how would you ever get the right of return? Overthrowing governments?
The government is going to collapse. The government of the occupation is going to collapse. It collapses all the time, and they have to have like 5 elections every few minutes. You know what I mean? Hilarious.
The headphones make it so much better.
The cuts that we're going to have to do in this podcast. Yeah. You actually look more like a Fed with that one.
It's like I'm supposed to be here. Right?
Yeah. You're like, join me, fellow halal brothers.
Is this the protest inside?
Yeah. Is
Salam
anybody trying to
alaikum.
commit crimes today, brother?
Salam alaikum, brother.
I'm feeling super radicalized.
I don't know about you.
I just need you to press this button.
Yeah. Hey, sign this for me. Okay. Sorry, what were we talking about? The government's going to collapse. The right of return will be enforced, presumably by international bodies as well as locally, like inside Palestine.
Got it. Inshallah.
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 I think. Did you have something to say?
No.
Okay.
This guy plays the devil's advocate better than the devil himself at times, but he does it so selectively and like in a way that I think carries a lot of impact. Because if
This is what you'll see if you look at his content.
I don't
If you
want to give away the
Hold
sauce.
on,
You know
hold
what
on.
I'm saying?
If you look at his content, he does a very, very good job of asking questions as if he knows the answer, but it's like he'll bring it out. You know what I mean?
I want to bring out the truth. I want to bring out people's
And
true
he'll-
opinions
and he'll
about
make
things.
The other person he's not going to answer it. He's going to get.
I mean, it's not my fault if I ask you a question and you make yourself look dumb, or whatever. So that's why, like, sometimes, I try to, give some kind of pushback or at least kind of say what people would argue against. And
I'm not scared of tough questions. I
yeah.
grew up in a Zionist environment, so I've heard all of their talking points, right? I stopped myself from being brainwashed, like through education, through outreach with Palestinians, right?
How did that? Yeah, I want to hear about that. Like,
Oh, okay, for sure.
When and
So
how?
in college, I was a part of a fraternity called AE Pi.
Oh, I know AEPI.
It's a Jewish fraternity.
Yeah.
And I was a part of a pledge class that had 8 American guys in it and then 2 guys who had served in the IOF, in the occupation army. and we were all being hazed. And so we were blindfolded. They had our hands tied behind our backs. We were in a dark room. They were playing loud music. Essentially, they were like sensory deprivation, torturing us. And so when you are blindfolded like that, your other senses really take over.
Yeah.
Right? And most of the American guys in this pledge class were like super uncomfortable because we'd never been tortured before. But I could hear
Naturally.
I could hear two Zionists, like the Israeli guys, they were like laughing, like cackling, like hyenas. You know what I mean? And
They're also tied up? Or
they were also tied up side by side to us.
Weird.
And so we were like, hey, what's up with you guys? You guys are giving off psycho vibes, right? You know what I mean?
Like we love this.
Yeah. And literally, they
BDSM
said,
stuff.
bro, they said to me, they said, we used to do this to Palestinians all the time.
No way.
And so that is like the first
And
time.
that moment, they fucked up.
Yeah, dog. They created me. Actually, it was the problem. If they had just shut the fuck up, like
the origin story.
Yeah, for real. That is my origin story.
Wow.
Because the moment I heard them say that, bro, and they didn't stop there. Like I'll save you, but
Yeah,
they said more stuff.
I mean, tell us.
Nah, it's like they just told me more about how they were torturing Palestinians in specific ways.
And they were happy. Like
They were having a good time talking about it. And so that snapped me into like a totally different dimension. I was like, wow, everything I've ever been taught is a lie, right? Because like my family wasn't like super Zionist or anything, but we tolerated Zionism. We engaged in spaces where Zionism existed.
I mean,
and
you
now
almost have no choice, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
I mean, they offered me to go on their so-called birthright trip. You know what I mean? And I was like, you guys are weird. I was born in New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, once I heard that from the guys who had literally served in the occupation army, I was like, oh my God, dude, I need to find out way more about this. I started speaking to Palestinians. There was an SJP event, actually. Like, it was apartheid week. And I like passed.
Better than Shark Week, or
I think so. A lot of the same players, actually. And I walked by it and I saw the phrase Israel's an apartheid. And I'd never like really engaged with that sentence before. And so I just went up and talked to them, but I talked to them with an open mind, right? I talked to them having just experienced this thing that set me on a course towards re-education, right? And once I heard from Palestinians, like, dog, it was a wrap. I started reading books, you know what I mean? And I just educated myself, listened to Palestinians and their stories. They were so gracious in sharing their history with me. You know what I mean? Somebody who it's like, there's no real reason for them to share other than the fact that they just want people to know their story, right? And it's like they could easily have just been like, no, we're never letting somebody from your community in our house again, right? I would understand. But they brought me in and, you know, they educated me. And I'm forever grateful to the Palestinians who helped me wake up out of a slumber, out of a brainwashing cult.
what was your
What
thoughts
year was
about
it?
Palestinians before that?
I didn't have many. I'd never really encountered them. I knew that if I made a joke at their expense, it would be well received by a large audience. I knew that.
Interesting.
But I never really encountered Palestinians directly.
Because you were a comedian back then, too?
No, I was not a comedian.
Oh, okay. I also want to know, when was this?
This was in 2010 or so. And then I was kicked out of the fraternity. You know, depends on who you ask, but I'd imagine my sympathy towards Palestinians didn't help.
Yeah.
And then...
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was doing like, you know, I was protesting, I was like signing petitions, real white people stuff, just like behind the scenes. And then in about 2020, like I just started like focusing on Gaza and also, you know, like Palestine at large.
Of course.
And I was like, dog, I cannot like not say anything anymore.
Right.
And so I started making videos then in 2020. Amazing. And yeah, you know, Palestinians found me on the internet and they were like, who the fuck is this Jew? And my co-host, Kazan Girl, she was doing similar content at the time, you know. She was talking about international law institutions. And we just reached out and were like, hey, I really like your stuff, you know what I mean? And she actually approached me and she was like, we should do a podcast. And it turned into the Palestine pod.
Now he's Aaliyah.
I love it, dude. I love the multiple costume changes.
Bro, pick a fit and stay with it.
That's how
Mashallah, brother.
We're displaying all the different ways Pally Roots can be styled.
I'm gonna screenshot this and make a shirt. I'm gonna wear him on my.
Yeah, perfect. Nice.
This is from Pally Roots. That's from Pally Roots.
And
You
get
can
the
style it multiple
selfie
ways.
he took earlier. You know what I mean?
But wait, that's how the Palestinian. Yeah, right. That's how the podcast started?
That's how the podcast started. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So let's.
And that's with, what's your co-host name? I'm sorry?
Lara. And her
goes by-
online, she's known as Gazan Girl.
So Gazan Girl. And
Yeah, I've heard of her.
Let's repeat that one more
Yeah.
time. So you are a host or
Co-host of the Palestine Pod,
Right.
PalestinePod.com, anywhere that you stream your podcasts. And my co-host is Lara, and she is known online as Gazan Girl.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, and you can find me online at Michael_Schertzer, as well as the Palestine Pod, if that's easier to remember.
And Lara's an attorney, right?
She is. She's a human rights attorney. So her family is from Gaza. They were kicked out, forcibly displaced in 1948, and now she practices international law, and she also helps refugees who are being forcibly displaced to find a new home and a new life in new countries. She's great, and I love her so much. I respect her. She has become one of the prominent voices in the movement, and I'm just so glad to have found
Do you
her.
think that
The union you guys have together, too. Like,
Yeah, it's a special bond that she and I have. She's an older sister to me, and her family is my family. Doesn't really go the other way, but you know what I mean.
no, but like a Palestinian human rights attorney. And
That's awesome.
An
Yeah,
active,
yeah.
comedian,
I love it.
a comedian, freaking activist.
I have a question.
What, you? No.
I
You're saying
forgot
it
my
doesn't
question.
go both. You're saying it doesn't go both ways for like
Yeah, so like my family is her family. Like I believe her family is my family,
Yeah.
but I still have members of my family who are Zionists. So I wouldn't
I
imagine
see, I
that
see. Got
she
it,
would subject
got it.
herself to that.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay, yeah. Got it. What's your question then? Go ahead.
I forgot. Go ahead. I'll try.
I was gonna do it.
This is a banger, I bet.
shook it off.
It's, we got
was.
also. We wanted to announce again. We're collaborating with Pali Roots.
Shout out Pali Roots.
Showed up Pali Roots. They've been standing on business for. Hussein and Amina, Palestinians, really putting us on and stuff. And it's great to be in collaboration with them.
Oh, I remember my question.
You look like Mary
And,
Poppins right now. You look like Mary Pop Off.
You know what I'm talking about?
That was good.
They were gracious enough to hook us up with some merch. So this isn't even out yet. It's the Eliana collab. It's coming out in February. Probably when you see this, it's already out. So use code Habibi House to get 15% off for the rest of your life.
Might as well continue the costume changes.
So again, code Habibi House.
And that's a sweater from them too, right?
You'll see the link below.
I remember my question now. So there's a lot of activists and supporters of the liberation. Do you think that it's necessary for there to be like a Nelson Mandela type singular figure?
I don't think so. I think a decentralized approach is better because anytime you elevate somebody to a certain level, they get assassinated. But, I think our Nelson Mandela is probably in jail right now, right?
Or on his way.
Like he's probably in the occupation's dungeons. Maybe it's one of the gentlemen who dug their way out with a spoon, right? You know what I mean? It's like, it's entirely possible that, a movement can persist without like one particular leader. And it's often, troublesome to put all your eggs in one basket, basically.
Right.
Decentralized. Kind
Yeah.
of. It's-
I like that, like a decentralized revolution.
Revolution, right? That's why when the occupation talks about how they're targeting like top Hamas leader, you know what I mean? It's like, guess what, dog? The resistance will go on.
It's a mindset. It's a mind state. It's not a singular person.
And like you said, there's multiple facets of it, and there's many ways. And I think when it becomes powerful, maybe it's not the one person; it's many people stepping into their role as, if you will, the main character.
That's actually a great point. It's everyday people like you and me who are changing the way that we behave in order to bring about a better world. Like people who are abiding by the strike right now that Bisan called for, right?
That's like
who are not spending any money, who are not doing any bank transactions.
Yeah.
That's a huge.
We got to start that today.
That's a huge sacrifice some people are making.
Can I get groceries first?
I mean, you can do what you can. Ultimately, anything is better than nothing.
Right, yeah.
But
Right.
like society remembers particular individuals, right? But all of those individuals were just regular people who were presented with extraordinary instances, right? Like people who stepped up to the plate at a time when they were needed And they said to imperialists, they said no. They said to colonialists, they said no. They said to racists, they said no.
Yes. Standing your ground.
Stand your ground. Stand on business in this moment, right? Like
Standing on business.
yeah. It's like you have to as regular
bro.
people
You have to.
approach the power structure because it's not going to be, cut and dry. One guy does it all. Like that's so much pressure on somebody.
And obviously everyone do everything they can.
So,
And
what I'll say is like everybody doesn't have to do everything.
That's true.
But everybody does have to do something.
What you can.
Right? So there's an organization called Palestine Action, right? They are doing the important work of dismantling weapons manufacturers. Right now, I think it's the most effective organization that you can donate to,
The protests in
right?
front
Because
of
if you donate to
Elbit,
aid,
right?
if you donate to aid, even like the accredited aid organizations, they have trucks that are waiting at the Rafah border that are not being allowed into Gaza.
But I still think that's a bit of a dangerous message to spread because we still need the aid.
You can send aid, but a lot of aid is not getting in. So what I'm saying is that I think the most effective use of money, if you want to send money to a cause, is for the people of Palestine Action because they are dismantling the weapons before they get there.
Got it.
Right? And so it's like, you don't have to pick up a sledgehammer. Not everybody has to pick up a sledgehammer.
Right.
But you could buy a sledgehammer for somebody who wants to do that. Right? You know what I mean? Not everybody has to do everything, but everybody does have to do something. So find where you fit into the movement and be useful.
in any way possible.
Any way.
And we talk a lot about, you were talking about where not to spend. Does it go as far as like local, like spend and smaller business, right?
I mean,
not
support
the bigger.
Palestinian businesses.
Do not buy anything from McDonald's. Do not buy anything from Starbucks. Do not buy anything from Pizza Hut. There is a BDS national campaign list that you can check, cross-reference. There is an app called Boycott that I recommend because you can scan any product
this app.
and find if they are offending or in support of the occupation of Palestine. And I encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
It's like a small thing that you can do
Yeah.
to make sure that you're not supporting an industry which is profiting from genocide.
We're talking about that, like
We'll
with
just set it
Bassem
up.
They're-
Youssef,
oh,
like
yeah.
he got huge off of the interview, and then now he's
Right.
selling out arenas.
Right.
So it's like, how do you see?
I
that?
mean,
Should
he
we call
also
it-
went on Piers Morgan and condemned the resistance. So you know what I mean? You'll never see me do that. One of your faves went on Piers Morgan and said, that he fucking hates the resistance.
Well, I feel like they had
Bassem
to.
Youssef?
That was
Yeah,
like the
and they-
introduction
Bassem-
question that they.
Oh,
It's like,
oh,
let's just get rid of this question so we can move on.
Look, I understand. I understand the position he's in. You know what I mean? But he didn't have to say he fucking hates them.
I think he was just trying to like disarm their arguments.
I understand what he was doing.
You know what I mean?
And I'm not even shading him for that.
Yeah.
There's a little bit extra to
I see
it.
what you're
You know
saying.
what I mean?
Okay.
Where it's like, if you don't support Palestinian resistance, you don't support a free Palestine.
Yeah. It is that weird, like
You want Palestinians to be bodies, right? You want them to be skulls that you can share as like an image. But Palestinians deserve dignity.
Right.
Palestinians deserve freedom. And how do they get that? It's not by going on fucking Piers Morgan.
there is a certain, a fear. It's all about fear, right? You're fearing saying even the word, hummus, right? And you can't say it, and you'll get canceled, or you get even worse, you'll get blacklisted. You won't work again, and it's a fear, right? And there are just people that they can't take it anymore, and we're not afraid anymore.
Yeah.
and
Couldn't be me.
I could see how that. Yeah.
I support resistance of any kind to colonialism, right? I supported the Jews when they came up in Warsaw Ghetto
ghetto,
Uprising,
exactly.
right? I support the South Africans, Nelson Mandela's ANC, in their struggle against apartheid. And I support the Palestinians in their struggle to liberate their land, the indigenous Palestinian resistance.
The Algerians against the French,
Yeah, I support that.
all of that.
It's funny when you were talking, my hood got a little too high. I'm like, wait.
Yeah, you're built like an ice cream cone right now. You know what I mean?
That's a euphemism.
You're at the wrong meeting, buddy.
Yeah. I think
No, man.
The clan is down the
I
hall.
can't believe we have
That's
this
the other
guy
studio.
on our team,
Yeah.
Bro, this guy's on our team, dog. Let's fucking go. Oh, yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for having me
Yeah,
on.
man.
I really appreciate the platform you guys have built,
Bro,
the conversations
we
you're having.
appreciate
and,
you, dog.
Thank you.
We should.
When did comedy come in for you? That's what I want to know.
I mean, I do stand up, you know.
But I'm saying, like, yeah. Time,
I do
like,
stand up also.
Yeah, dude, you're a funny
We can
guy.
talk about that as well.
When's the next show?
When did that come in? Like, because I know you were saying that.
Oh, so I started doing stand up in like 2014.
Okay.
and
So you graduated 2010 from the frat, left, or got kicked out?
So I got kicked out in 2010, 2011,
Okay.
and I started doing stand up after college.
In New York?
No, in LA.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And
I went
how's
to
it-
school at UCSB. That's true.
Ooh, you see,
And yeah, I got a bunch of shows coming up. I'm actually going to be on tour in Europe with my buddy Morgan J.
oh, I know Morgan J.
yeah.
Back when he was like, I was on his email list back in 2010.
OG shit.
Because we threw like a comedy competition or whatever.
That's one of my best
But
friends.
that's cool.
And so we're going to Europe, and I'll be around. I got a bunch of shows. Check out my, Instagram.
What's your IG?
Michael_Schertzer.
How do you spell shirts? Is it
SCHIRTZER? So you knew the answer. You know? Come on,
just
what are you,
wanted
this
to be
guy?
sure.
You know what I mean?
I wanted to be-
What are you, this guy over here? Well, how do you spell that actually?
That's
Wait, I don't get it.
Because you ask people questions you know the answer to.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Strategically.
It's what we call a callback in comedy. Thank you so
Is it?
Hey.
No, because it's one of those things
We don't
you
get
think.
those as actors though.
Yeah, I could tell. I had to explain the joke. You know?
No callbacks. Just
I'll be doing commentary on my own jokes.
No, it's one of those things you
Explain
think
it.
you know what you explain it.
Sort of like an ESPN breakdown.
The Jamaican guy is like, you like that joke, huh? Explain it. It gets so real.
Nice.
That's cool though. So you're performing all over.
Yeah. Last night I was in Long Beach. Tonight I have a show in West Adams. I know this is not going to air for a while,
Yeah.
but I got shows all around.
Can we come one of these shows?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I got a show on East LA on the 28th, I think.
East LA.
I saw I did them.
Maybe like
you
East.
got any comps for that shit?
No, I do not.
Wait, no, there's a global strike. I can't spend any money.
Yeah.
Right,
Buy
thanks.
tickets the 29th.
Two drink minimum?
Strategic.
I don't know. It's not my show. I'm sorry.
Hey, you guys actually down to stop spending money for the next few days? Because
I mean, you don't spend money anyway, so.
Esau called
frugal
for it,
man.
and I'm also broke, so it's very convenient. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to get at. Yeah, they didn't have to.
Esau is saving me money, and I need it right now.
I think
We can end with a joke if you want.
Yes.
So being Jewish, it doesn't really matter because if you say Free Palestine on the internet, the Zionists will often send you nasty messages, hate mail, death threats, etc. And so the other day they sent me a message where they were like, "We will cut out your tongue."
What?
And I was like, "That's fucked up. You guys know I love to eat pussy." Okay, what's going on? You're reading my text. I wish you would stop. Okay, Google Pegasus. Thank you guys so much for having me. Appreciate it.
And on that
Thank you, Michael.
Shirts are, dude.
They're also like, we're gonna cut out your tongue, but you're like, but I use my fingers to type. So
Yeah, they're like, "We'll break your
Bro,
fingers so
they're
you can't
psychopaths.
upload." And I'm like, "I'll figure it out."
Our boy Diz was telling us that he was getting some messages that are interesting too. Disaster, they're bad.
Yeah, we have to mention him too every episode.
They try to disarm. They try to scare people, bro. Scare tactics.
I got death threats. I mean, I'm
They
sure you-
reached
Yeah,
out
you-
to every comedy club in Los Angeles trying to get me not booked there. Little did they know, I already don't get booked there. Okay, thank you so much.
Oh wait, I think I saw that joke. Oh,
Nice.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Funny.
All right, thank you so much for coming
Oh
in.
shit!
Thank you
wanted
guys,
to-
appreciate
should
it.
we rap? Should we do a little? Do you have time?
No,
we
we
got a
don't.
minute. Dang it! All right, listen to this new verse. Because since we've been going gangster, so we might as well do the whole thing. I just wrote
We want
this.
this on camera.
They throw dirt on our name and defame us, more hurt on our pain. I said they throw dirt on our name and detain us, more hurt on our pain. And no, I said they throw dirt on our name and defame us, like defamation. They throw dirt on our name and defame us. They throw dirt on our name and defame us, more hurt on our pain and detain us. Swore that we'll be maimed and defaced us. Murder she will sing and reach angels. Hostages, but the torture turned them casualties. Oh, this is my shit? Thank you. Casualties. They done poached and burned them. Fallacies, they done roped in curtains. Stand for peace, they gon' stomp our purpose. Plant a seed, they gon' dig and turn soil. Fantasies, but we live in turmoil. Plan disease and they farm our organs. Cadaver seized and they harm our corpses. Autopsies reveal vitals stolen, left in pieces on borders. Autopsies reveal vitals stolen. Morbid thieves, they won't let us mourn or rest in peace. They done torn us open, left in pieces on borders closed in. Shrapnel pieces ripped limbs and broke them. Gas to breathe by the rubble silence. Ask these kids what they thought of violence before imposing them on your violence. Before enclosing them with piles of rocks and concrete that dampen cries of help and drown their screams with sirens rhetorically. Paint them as targets, enforcing greed on their gentle kindness. The war machine, Judge. Mental tyrants. Hopefully, they reap what they've all conspired in, and I hope they meet their own designed and closely tweaked and bleak self-prescribed end, and the world will speak and seek truth from blindness, and we'll all be free from Zionist confinements, man.
Bars.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
Let's get it.
It's coming to the
How you
studio.
gonna walk out
the
when the
studio.
bars come out, bro?
I just rolled up with a bag of trees.
Hey, spit my shit. I just rolled up with a bag of trees.
You know I
came
can
a
rap
long
as
way.
well.
Can you?
Yeah.
Bro, spit some.
Are we
right
still
now.
rolling?
Yeah.
All right. I got the skill, will, and ability to fill up a soliloquy.
Ooh.
Parallel to Paramount, but you'd probably rather get rid of me because these are loose times, but these rhymes speak with legitimacy. You see, I feel the entrapment of myself and everybody beside me. I mean, if we live in a free, non-fascist society, then why are we surrounded by surveillance and bombarded for ID? It's not so my friends could keep a tab on where to find me. My kin and everyone I've been with is standing right behind me.
Ooh.
It's so that Bilderberg could keep that all-seeing eye on me. They spy on me through phone taps, TV, and computer. I wonder what they'd say about today if you asked JFK or Martin Luther. Bob Marley, John Lennon, MLK Jr., Tupac, B.I.G., Malcolm X. The government kills anyone that they suspect. Will speak out and be listened to because the power to bring down the tyrannies of evil is in you. That's why they imprison you, literally and figuratively. I got so much to say if the opportunity is given to me. I've risen to the occasion. I'm going to keep on raising like I'm in the sun. These invasions, enslavement, there's no battle to be won because the CIA created all ISIS and Al-Qaeda, gave them weapons and training. It was all planned that later they would be the main scare in the war on terror. And that's just code for the public accepting a moron's error. And a moral terror to boot, the next child soldier dead at the hands of a shooter, shoot. Who'd have known truth to be stranger than fiction? Top of the pyramid's broken, it'll take the bottom to fix them. Nearly every politician's on a mission like Nixon. Sell you crack in new venues, got the whole world fixing. To fire it up. Watch out, these mental gates are closing, they have wired them shut. Arm yourselves with knowledge and guns and aim high from your gut because this is fascism and it's fast in them. I wonder if the Germans could see the car coming before the fucking crash hit them. I'm past kidding. I can't just be telling my jokes. I'm trying to expose these evil demons by expelling their cloaks.
Oof.
They want you to think about Democrat, Republican, so that you don't think it's the devil's grasp that the Republic's in. The answer is in men, women, and children. To build a new society for and by men, women, and children. Until then, we're all just slaves to the banks, corporations, and the royalty, whose mission is division of precision while they spoil thee, with product placement, PR, and marketing for toiletry. This poetry is my form of revolt with more kick and horsepower than I could hold in a cult. These occult symbols appear in movies and TV. We let emotion bypass logic. Really, it's too easy. Sleazy as hell, but it gets the job done. Good luck looking your kid in the eyes and telling him how hard it is to get a job, son. That's the kind of thing that makes me think that there's no God, son. No one with such power and foresight would let the world be dominated by capitalist, imperialist, Zionist crooks out and forthright.
It's all a test, man.
With more sight by the people and less by the eye, we can forcibly undress their phony disguise, this guy's wise to the plot, the conspiracy of the wealthy. But I got to give them credit on their ability for stealth.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had no idea for far too long, but the common struggles of man are far too strong. We don't have time to debate or argue too long. I've been paying dues and taxes now for far too long.
God damn it.
I profess that progress is no less than the abolishment of the criminal conspiracy known as the Federal Reserve. A crazy, quasi-Nazi government organization that's got America by its spinal column and could sever its nerve. Their interests are not for the betterment of the people. On the contrary, they serve the perpetration of evil. They serve corporations, organizations, all the sort that's making the individual suffer. But strap up, young buck, these times will get tougher.
Yeah.
They use information, media, movies, music, technology as a buffer to send an unfamiliar message through a messenger we trust, or even make us think about insignificant material things, to block out facts about 9/11, how they found no material wings, no engine, no nothing.
Big explosion.
Zionism is a game and these motherfuckers are bluffing. I'm stuffing my brain full of information. That's the most powerful weapon against the nation. And nationality is a pitiful attempt to override an individual's rationality. You follow a leader numerous times into the desert on a fallacy. He won't even lead. He declares war with a policy.
Right.
If it was up to me, I would abolish he who burns us with chemical radiation and then taxes every aloe tree. We're in it so deep, but this whole country's shallow. We have no idea for far too long. Oh, wait, no, the whole country's shallow. We keep our mind focused on basketballs or on rings when we should be looking for them crooked ones we call kings.
Right. Right.
I fucked up at the end there, but you get the point.
No, that's it.
that was
bro.
lit.
That's it
Thank you so much. It's been a while since I've
What
done
the
slam.
heck?
That was fire.
Whose second coming are your saviors impersonating, basically? That was,
Say it one more time.
that was a bar I said on my... Whose second coming are your saviors impersonating? These freaking kings, these crooked
yeah.
kings. That's who we should be abolishing. Bro, what the heck
Let's
just happened?
go.
Bro, Michael Scherzer just went the
Bro, he can do
32
everything.
bars I heard in my
Comedy,
goddamn
rap, political commentating.
What is going on, bro?
so much.
All right,
Mashallah.
man.
Burns in the aloe tree bar.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
love
there's
that
too
one.
many bars.
Yeah.
Mashallah, bro. That was an incredible...
Taxes every aloe tree. We're in it so deep, but this whole country is shallow. And we never think about the genius who would outlaw a tree that could produce food, fuel, clothing, textiles domestically for all to see. Nah, see, today we pay attention to all the wrong things. We soak up subliminal messages that all the song sings. We
Right.
keep our mind focused on
the
basketballs
outro,
or
play the
on
outro.
rings when we should be looking for them crooked ones they call kings.
Habibi House.
Peace, y'all. Thank y'all so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Seriously, clap it up.
That was legendary, bro.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Man.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.